Hello, good morning. My name is Ana Victoria Cruz Hernandez. I am a student of the second grade, group 3, and today I'm going to talking about my essay called the teaching experience first approach. Let's start with introduction. In the present world, we'll mention issues, problems, and point of view expressing during the realization of planning that were carried out in the first practices of intervention. Carried out in the Escuela Secundaria Federalizada Dr. Jaime Torres Bodet, putting three important sections for its development, which are okay, the first is focus on experience, mentioning how it impacted or helping within the planning sense from the perspective of Sergio Tobon, who defines the competence as a complex process of performance which suitably in a certain context with responsibility. Also, taking up the author Perronet, this one with a more direct approach to the approach by competence. The second is educational project. Within this section, he mentioned that teaching projects can be a way to systematically organize learning and teaching, directly involving the actors of the process, integrating and correlative areas of knowledge by getting each and every one of them to conform to what was planned and execute, taking from Sandoval's perspective. And the third is reflective models. Finally, mention will be made of how the models can help you to plan the activities to be carried out within a classroom, mentioning my point of view with the help of experience within intervention practices. Using the experiential approach proposed by David Kolb. Also, in each section will be made known the experience live in the virtual classroom due to the sanitary contingency by COVID-19. Okay, the first I will talking about the focus competencies. Okay, the corporate focus on competency in education in our country implies a profound change and transformations and the different education levels. And the follow of this approach is to commit to a quality teaching interventions, seeking to ensure the learning of students. The concept focus on competencies which has multiple representatives such as Verne, Diaz Barriga, Tobon, among others. But within my arguments, this process consists of collections of what I learned by assigning an evaluation. Since, according to Perrone 2006, within the competence-based approach, the assessment consists of a process of guaranteeing evidence on the competent performance of the student with intervention of constructing and uses evaluate judgments based on its comparison with a form of reference constituted by the competencies. In a certain part, it shows that the competence can be based on the personality of the subject. Therefore, from my perspective, the diagnosis within the assigned group is efficient. This entails an end in order to be able to organize the teaching learning process in the students. The indicator of achievement in the action or use of knowledge to be able to determine the performance or the scope of effective learning. And for this, the contents make up the set of knowledge which are constituted for the integral development of the person. Within this, we find the concepts of mobilization of knowledge. In this, we work as knowing how to do, knowing how to be. Within the head of the competence approach, and was be able to understand the importance of a diagnosis in front of a group, because we can't implement activities without commenting ourselves to fall in field certain competence. But for this diagnosis will giving us the foundation to be able to carry out activities for a better feedback and learning in the students. But in the process of my intervention practice, it wasn't possible to obtain good results with the diagnosis because of the 22 students who were connected to the sessions. Only 5 students answered it. So we based it on only 5 response. So in the second sessions, we didn't have much success like in the first. Okay, as a second point is the teaching project. The teaching project, Science Pyramid 2006 mentions that a teaching project is recognized as a pedagogical device for establishing new educational relations between the teacher and the pupil, taking into account the curricular components and responding to needs and interests of both the pupils and the school and the community. Okay, from my perspective, it's considered a fundamental document science, as we know that giving a class in front of a group of 50 to 16 students is important to first make a certain statistics. The teaching projects helps you to make a good planning. Within the saying, we find certain specific points which help you to form a project of quality, allowing to strengthen the teaching and the learning of the students, starting with the main element, which is the diagnosis. Uh, in short, we have to carry out an analyze to determine a problem. This determination is made on the basis of study systematically, call it an ordered data and facts that allow you to bear the job. What is happening? Within the diagnosis? We must take into account that we have to evaluate the students in a formative way. Activities The activity planning is an important topic for teaching. The concept and need for planning are constantly evolving. Um, on the other hand, the quality of education is it only based on knowledge that is based on from teachers to the students. Goes much further and will always have to do with achieving educational change with favorable results in any context. Together, we can better evaluate students as we focus on the effective features in them, as well as combining our competencies with our planning. We can acquire good activities to improve knowledge retention in our students. I understand that there is no perfect planning because at certain times we have difficulties that are beyond our reach. In the virtual sessions, no matter how good your planning was, because there were internet problems and it's something that we can't control. Um, On the other hand, the participation of the students wasn't the same, because even if you addresses someone directly, they simple didn't turn on the microphone. When presenting video, there is the possibility that the audio is out of it, but at the same time, it's uh, advantage at teaching. Always you to be dynamic and creative at the same time. The third point is reflective models. Within the world of education, we can focus on teaching our students in different ways. For this, there are a variant of models that can be used as teachers to plan activities within the classroom. But it isn't easy to identify which of them is the right one to carry out within the sessions. Most of the students believe that when we go to school, they only have to complete with the activities to get a grade. But we really know as teachers that planning involves a series of steps to achieve meaningful learning. However, as a teacher in training, when um, performing intervention practices, observe that play activities lead beyond a game, but that the shield must go through process to acquire information easily. Not all children learn the same or at the same pace. No? Based on the diagnosis made at the behind of the sessions. We can help ourselves to choose a model that we can apply. In this case, I will talk about a model that was easy to implement and that served as a basis to carry out the planning of two classes or of two sessions. Within the first approach, we find the experiential model postulated by Kolb in 1974, where say author understands that learning is the transformation of knowledge as a product of experience. In relation to the above, Kolb explains that there are two different types of experience. The first type is the experiential experience, concrete, which is acquired through apprehensions, through the senses, and the second is the mental conceptual experience, which is obtained by understanding. Called proposing a learning cycles with four basic stages. The first stage is a stage of concrete experience. In this, the student lives the experience. The second is reflective observation stage. In this, the student reflects on what happening in the experience. And the third is a stage of abstraction conceptualization. The students elaborate concepts and generate a hypothesis of the reason for what happened in the experience. And the fourth is a stage of activity experimentation. Here, the students look for other contexts for application and exist for question. The first is what kind of activities are most effective to produce a pleasant experience for the students to improve his learning. The second is how can we carry out certain game or interactive activities where we can work as a virtual group. The third question is how can we make the child focus his or her attention on the knowledge given by the teacher without the need for play or intervention activities. Only three questions, sorry. For students, the concept of learning focused on memorizing when the teacher should promote a feeling in pulping, and this makes learning easier so that with the the health of games. We can promote feelings and at the same time tastes from for learning, taking into account the rules of the same. As they could be memories, lottery, snake and stairs, etc. Uh, as well as we can given activities such as sub of letters or maybe crossword puzzles. Finally, I am going to talking about the conclusions of each topic. The first is focus on competencies. I understand that this approach can be summed up in the questions such as learning to know, learning how to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. The second point in this part is gradual acquisition of knowledge, because of these divisions of competence into very small units. Learning is gradually taking place so that the learner can gradually and logically acquire language knowledge. And the third is focus on the apprenticeship. This in the traditional education system, pupils are seen as passive receivers of knowledge. The task of the teacher is to transmit to them what he knows. In this approach, students are considered a blank slate, so learning will be efficient in them. The second point is education project, and in this is an only self-administered, self-managed response as mental and taking evidence of authentic teacher practices, and then address the specific of the subject found by the teachers. And the third point is reflective models. This as an important factor is to consider competence as open skills, analyze their specific basis on their consequence. The teacher is considered as the research, and the classroom has a permanent laboratory for educational research. The model is being built in an international cell by the teacher himself in the process of the professional practice. Thank you very much.